Hi, this is my old Gaggia Classic with a couple of modifications. I've added this thermometer to the machine with the sensors inside pressing on the side of the boiler. Gives me kind of the average temperature of the boiler, and I can use the steam switch to kick the heat on a little bit to heat it up if I don't want to let it do its thing. The Gaggia tends to have a really wide thermal swing. I call it the Gaggia thermal roller coaster ride, where if left alone it'll cool down to about 200 degrees and then suddenly jump up to 240 degrees and then start slowly cooling down again. Really hard to guess where you are in that cycle. So the thermometer really helps. I can not only see what temperature the boiler's at right now, but I can see how fast that temperature is dropping. And the faster it's dropping, the cooler the water is inside. And the slower it's dropping, I know that the water inside has absorbed quite a bit of heat and is closer to the temperature of the boiler. And I've also I've built this homemade thermofilter. It's just a single basket filled up with a puck simulator and a bead of my thermocouple. And I've got a pressure profiling device on my pump so I can control the pressure of the pump. And I've got it adjusted to about half power so that I'll get closer to about 2 ounces in 25 seconds to try to simulate a double shot. So you can see the boiler is at about 219. I'm going to turn the steam switch on for a few seconds and start a shot. Let's see what temperature we get. And you see the temperature on the boiler rising a bit. That's because I turned the steam switch on before I started. But that's about the perfect temperature for a shot, and Gaggia does a really good job all by itself. Right now I'm not doing anything else other than that. That's about the size I would pull for a shot. That's actually a little big. That's more like a standard shot. I'm going to turn the steam heat on for a few seconds to try to compensate for the water I just pumped in there, and also to try to catch it before it starts on its automatic thermal roller coaster ride. So I only held the steam on for a few seconds and heating it up to about 235, 236, 237, 238. And now it's starting to drop back down. And notice how quickly it's dropping. Pretty fast. It's because the water inside just barely pumped in 2 ounces of water. And that's absorbing the heat from the boiler. So the water inside's not nearly at 232. So I'm going to let it continue to drop. We started that shot quite a bit cooler than this, but because it hasn't had a lot of time to recover, we're going to start it a little hotter than we normally would. So I just hit the steam switch for a second and a half, and you'll see it start to rise now. And this helps the recovery. I'm trying to hold the boiler up closer to 230 rather than let it cool all the way down to 200 the way it would if I didn't intervene. So that helps the water inside get up to temp a little faster, a little more stable. So when this hits 227, I'm going to try to start a second shot. Turn the steam on and start the shot. And once again, that's pretty darn perfect temperature at the brew head. Turn the steam heat on to start recovering. Try to catch it before it starts on its automatic roller coaster ride. Turn the steam heat off. And you see the temperature start to rise several seconds after I applied the heat. It takes 5-6 seconds before you see a reaction on the thermometer. You hear a little bit of steam bubbling. This is a really old classic. This one's, I think, prior to the year 2000. I forget the date, but it's about 13, 14 years old. Okay, I'm going to hit the steam heat for about 4 seconds and start a shot. And this one's a little too cool, but not bad. This would make a good shot, but normally I would have done one more little cycle up to 230 and let it cool back down. But this would be a totally drinkable shot. Now, let's say I'm going to turn the heat on. And turn the heat off. Let's say I had a different coffee and I want to pull a shot around 200 degrees, 202 degrees. And those last two shots have been, last 2 or 3, I forget how many I did, have been around 197, 198, 199, which I find to be perfect. But say you got a coffee that really wants to run at 203, then I'm going to try to hold it up here around 230 a little longer. Let's give it a couple more cycles. And I pay attention to how rapidly it's dropping. It's dropping pretty slow, so the water seems to have recovered pretty well inside, but let's use 229 as our target temp. I don't want to do it on the way up. I want to let it start to cool, but let's see if we can hit a 203 at the brew head. When this starts cooling down now in a second, when it hits 229, I'm going to hit the steam switch for 4 seconds and then start the shot. And let's see, what I'm hoping to get is 203 degrees at the brew head. See if I can pull that off. Okay, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1000, start the shot. And let's call that a shot. Came pretty close, not quite as hot as I wanted, but I came real close. And I think most of you who have struggled with the Gaggia would agree that that's actually pretty darn close to what I was attempting to do. So let's try just a little hotter. I did 229, let's call 230 our target temp and see if I can hit 203. I want to cycle a little bit of heat into it. You can't see it, but what I'm doing is hitting the steam switch on, off. And I'm trying to simulate what a PID would do, just pump a little bit of heat in, but not enough to really get it swinging. I want to try to stabilize it right around 230. But trying to talk and shoot a video and make espresso at the same time makes me not quite as accurate as I am when I'm just pulling a shot for myself. Okay, one more cycle. Yeah, let it get a little unstable and let it fall a little too far and rise a little too high. So what I wanted to do was to try to get it a little more stable at 230. Let's pull a shot, see what we get. Well, that would have been a real nice shot. Didn't quite hit 203, but I got pretty close, and it was nice and stable through the whole shot. And that's the main thing I'm trying to demonstrate here is with real little recovery time, you've just seen me pull 4 or 5 shots that are all right in the ballpark for great espresso. And I'm doing this with an inexpensive machine with very inexpensive, simple modifications, no PID. And although it sounds a little complicated turning the steam switch on and off, it becomes second nature really, really quickly and easily. I'm going to give it one more attempt to try and hit 203. It's really easy to overshoot sometimes when I'm trying for those hotter temps. Sometimes I'll end up with 205, 206, and you can start to get a burnt espresso if you're not careful. Let's see what temp we get. Yeah, we just barely hit 203. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Just wanted to share a little bit of what can be done with these Gaggia machines.